Representative Dan Griffey, 35th District Representative. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to be in studio. I told you my preference is to be in studio, so I've been disappointed that we've been doing over the phone interviews all
Well, geez,
all year.
man, you're just so busy and high up there on the rankings. You got all this work to do.
Well, there is a lot of work to do, but it's worthwhile work.
I am seeing some reports in from our good friend John Satgast, who sends out communications from the House Republicans, that some work that you have been busily working on the last couple of sessions passing out of the House here. Tell me about this.
The statute of limitations bill. It's it's bittersweet because we know we start the process all over again, and it's once more into the abyss we go, right?
Mm-hmm.
For 5 years, I've been on a crusade to end the statute of limitations on felony sex crimes. As you all know, we've talked about it those full 5 years, but we have a more nuanced bill now. It doesn't do what I want, but we got to understand political reality. I mean, political wants and political reality are two different things. And so, yeah, I am always going to want, and I'm always going to work towards full elimination. But this bill strikes a great balance. It eliminates the statute of limitations on 8 felony sex crimes, the most egregious on those that are 15 years of age and were just under. So 16 years of age and younger, excuse me, and it harmonizes and raises the statute of limitations for all the rest of the felony classifications to 20 years, and that is a significant addition as well. The other thing is it eliminates the mandatory reporting period, 1-year reporting period, and that is very, very necessary because we find that a lot of sexual assault survivors are under the pressure of an oppressor. It could be a family member. It could be somebody that's trafficking them. I mean, it could be a lot of things. But when you find yourself a child that is suffering from sexual assault violence, you have to get your voice. And we have to give them the time to get their voice, to be able to stand up against their oppressor, right? And this bill strikes that balance, and I'm excited, cautiously optimistic, right? I mean, we've been here before. I've told you, the first time that we passed it off the floor and it went to the Senate, I almost did the spike the football thing when I was in studio, and that was because I was a freshman in the legislature, and I really didn't understand the political reality of it. But I am now. I'm more seasoned, and I there's still an uphill battle. The founders of Washington State made it hard to change Washington State law for reasons that I think are clear and smart. But it was an exciting day yesterday for sexual assault survivors.
It was an overwhelming majority, though. But so does that lead you to think that it is likely to move through the Senate?
Yeah, the momentum is in. On the side of sexual assault survivors this time. I mean, not only that we passed the sexual assault survivor bill of rights yesterday, which was amazing. We passed a bill that if we can fund, and we're working really hard to fund. I'm working across the aisle with Representative Tina Orwell. I know I mentioned her name a lot. Good friend of mine, love her to death, and how are we going to get the high throughput DNA lab up and running to where we can test the sexual assault kits right away? Once we get the backlog completely done with the new facility, we can then get the DNA testing done for current crimes very quickly. We'll have one of the most state-of-the-art laboratories for DNA testing in the world if we can get this off the ground. It is, it's a lot of money, $13 million, but it's not a lot of money when you look at what it can do.
Sure.
One issue I've always had is not enough distinctions within the sex offender registry between hardcore people who assault children, especially young kids, and teenagers kind of doing stupid things when they're underage. And can we talk a little bit about House Bill 1742 that passed the House on Monday, 57-39? And I think there's a lot of misinformation. Like, people are thinking it's totally making it okay for kids to sext each other. It's not doing that, right? It's just kind of reducing the penalties so that they don't do something dumb when they're 16 or 17 and then end up being a sex offender for the rest of their lives.
I was on the bill. I didn't vote for it this time because we just didn't get it exactly where I wanted to get. And when, sometimes from my perspective, you can sign on to a bill for a good concept because you want to be in the loop negotiating. If we don't get there, I reserve the right to vote no, and I did because we didn't get all the way there. But no, it doesn't do a carte blanche of freedom. What it says is, in this new world, kids can do some pretty stupid things. They can get into some significant trouble, and it can be life altering, and they might have to register as a sex offender for ever into the future. And what we try to do is strike a balance to say this activity hurts people. It needs to be monitored. We need to have some punishments. The opponents of the bill said that there was not enough teeth in the bill. Well, I think there is enough teeth in the bill. If people continue to do the sexting activity over and over again, there are some significant teeth in there. But if it's a one-off issue, it's kind of counseling. Don't do this anymore. Go through a little bit of process, and they don't have to carry that stigma around with them the rest of their life. So yeah, I think it struck a decent balance. There was a couple crimes that I think were pretty egregious that were still in there, or a couple activities. That's why I didn't vote for it. My no vote just signals that I want to continue in the negotiation on to the Senate till we can perfect the bill.
You mentioned a Bill of Rights that was passed. What was in that for?
Well, it's all all over. I don't have all of it, but basically, you have the right to know that your sexual assault. If you have to go through the torture of the forensic examination of a sexual assault kit being performed on you, that your kit's going to be tested.
Yeah.
That DNA is going to be placed in the CODIS database, and we're going to work our tails off to find that monster that did that to you. And those among many other rights. But the biggest right is your kit's going to be tested. And that we're maintaining the kits. We serialized all the kits so they can be tracked. So now that the sexual assault survivors can log on, once the system's up and running, they can log on, they can see where their kit is. They can actually be participants in this investigation work and helping to prosecute and bring these monsters to the just deserves. Their just deserves.
One of the other ones that you and I believe Representative Orwell were working on was for whatever reason, there was a time limit that if you were a victim and you went to a hospital or went somewhere to get tested, and they kind of sat you around and kind of gave you the runaround, and hours later they go, oh, well, we don't have these kits available. How's the process on
That's Representative Michelle Caldier's bill,
Caldier's,
actually. But, Tina and I are absolutely supportive of that. And it came from a gang rape that occurred in Kitsap County. And this individual went to Harrison Hospital and sat in the waiting room for 6 hours waiting for a sexual assault examination, only to find out that hospital did not provide that service. Unconscionable. Can't happen.
Right.
My speech on the House floor, we passed a bill that said you had an hour to notify. I think that's just stupid as well. You should be able to know within a minute of talking to the admissions people when you walk in, the expectation that there is a sexual assault examiner on site or there is not.
Yeah.
And you should have a list of the resources, and you should have an ability to help that young person or old person that victim get to a facility. And this is a step in the right direction. I think it should be 5 minutes. I think it's crazy.
Well, you think you would know who's on staff, if the person is on staff or the kits are in the system.
You know if you have the ability or not. I talked to, the good news is I was talking to the administration at Mason General, and they agreed with me, Scott Hilburn, and, we know if we have it or not.
Yeah.
We do have a severe shortage of trained, sane nurses, and it is important. This and exceptionally invasive examination that the survivors have to go through is terrible. They go over every square inch of your body. You're laying naked on a table, and they're photographing almost every square inch of your body. They're taking swabs of almost every square inch of your body. It is horrendous. And if they are willing and brave enough to sit through that, we want to have counselors with them, trauma-informed counselors. That's why it's so serious and so important that we have trained nurses and trained examiners that can not only collect the evidence appropriately so we can put somebody in prison for these terrible activities, but also take care of their emotional needs at that point in time. They really need a lot, and we need to be there for them.
Is there in the story you mentioned that it was a 6-hour wait until the victim found out? Is there a time limit where what you're looking for starts to go away?
Yeah, the DNA and the evidence degrades the longer you wait. And the other thing is the courage of the survivor righteously erodes. I mean, you probably, they have in their mind, even if they haven't been through this before, they have in their mind what's going to happen, and they just start losing the courage to do it, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
If they have the courage to step up, then we need to be there for them then. Right then.
Representative Griffey has been passionate about this issue for his time in the legislature and has been working very hard to pass these bills into law to eliminate statute of limitations and more. And we appreciate you being a voice for the victims, and we appreciate you being able to spend time with us to talk about these things.
Yeah, it was fun to be in here this morning.
Good to
guys.
see
Thanks
you.
for having me. Nice seeing you as well.